All right, so are you ready for this? Today we're doing a deep dive into Exodus.
Exodus chapter 19, to be exact.
Right, chapter 19. And we're going to be focusing on some material from this website, My Christian Space.
Yeah, it's a really great resource for understanding this pivotal moment,
Mm-hmm.
in the Israelites' journey.
It's a pretty dramatic chapter. I mean, we're talking a mountain literally on fire.
A covenant that changes everything, really.
And even a mysterious warning about, well, about getting too caught up in the excitement of worship.
Yeah, it's a chapter that I think is both dramatic and surprisingly relevant
Mm-hmm.
to, well, anyone seeking a deeper understanding of their faith, even today,
For sure. So, okay, let's set the scene. We're 3 months after the Israelites made their escape from Egypt.
That dramatic escape.
Yeah, pretty dramatic. And they're in the Sinai Desert at the foot of Mount Sinai.
Mhm.
And, just the fact that we're dealing with the number 3 right off the bat, well, that's kind of a clue that we're about to witness something pretty significant.
Oh, yeah. Even in ancient times, the number 3 held a special significance. Often representing revelation, like a deeper unveiling of truth.
So we're primed for something big to happen here.
Definitely. A sense of anticipation.
For sure. And then we have God speaking to Moses, right?
Sure.
With a message for the Israelites.
Yeah.
But he uses a very specific term, Beit Yaakov, which means household of Jacob.
Right. Right. And it's not just a casual term, it emphasizes their lineage, their connection to the promises that God made to their ancestor, to Abraham, generations earlier.
Generations earlier.
Right. And remember, Yaakov actually means pursuer.
Pursuer, okay.
And if we think back to the story of Jacob wrestling with the angel, right, we see this idea of striving, of actively pursuing the blessings and promises of the covenant.
That's interesting. So it's not just about passively receiving, it's about actively seeking the relationship with God.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what that kind of pursuit looks like in our own lives, today,
Yeah,
for sure.
that's a good point.
And then we get this incredible image. God carried the Israelites on eagle's wings. Talk about an epic rescue.
That's quite an image.
I mean, who wouldn't want a personal eagle escort out of a tough situation? But beyond, beyond the cool factor, it really speaks to this idea of supernatural redemption, of being lifted above their circumstances.
So it's like God saying, hey, I just saved you from slavery in a pretty spectacular way.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about what it means to be my people.
That's it. That's the heart of the covenant that God is proposing here. It's an agreement where he promises to be their God, to protect and guide them in return for their commitment to live according to his laws and reflect his character to the world.
So they're being called to be a nation set apart,
That's right.
a people dedicated to something greater than themselves.
Yeah. With with this powerful image of redemption and this call to be a nation set apart, how do you think the Israelites reacted, to this monumental proposition?
Well, so Moses gathers the leaders
Yeah.
and shares God's message
Mm-hmm.
and their response, a resounding, unified, everything the Lord has said, we will do.
Wow, they're fired up.
They are all in, at least for now.
That's for now. Okay.
But as we'll see, words are one thing. Actions, well, those can be a bit trickier.
Uh-oh. Okay, I sense some foreshadowing here.
A little bit.
So what happens next? This covenant's about to get real, right?
Definitely. God tells Moses to prepare the people for a face-to-face encounter
Okay.
on the third day, no less.
The third day.
And it's not going to be a casual drop-by. There's some very specific instructions involved.
Oh, okay. So let's unpack these preparations. What's God asking of them?
Well, there's a lot of emphasis on ritual purity and preparation. They're instructed to wash their clothes, symbolizing a cleansing, setting aside of the ordinary for something sacred.
Okay. And what about the instruction to refrain from approaching women?
Right.
That seems interesting.
Right. And it's all about focus.
Focus.
They're being asked to set aside even, natural desires, to fully concentrate on this encounter with God. It's a reminder that preparing for true worship demands intentionality, a deliberate separation from even the most common distractions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the stage is set, the people are prepped, and then
Then things get really dramatic.
Okay.
Remember, it's the morning of the third day.
The third day, that number 3 again?
There you go. And suddenly there's thunder and lightning, a thick cloud descends upon Mount Sinai, and a shofar blasts so loud it sends everyone in the camp trembling.
Wait, a shofar? What's a shofar?
A shofar is like it's like a trumpet. In ancient Israel, the shofar was used for important announcements, from calling assemblies to signaling war.
Right.
But here, it's announcing something truly awe-inspiring, the arrival of God.
Wow. I can almost feel the ground shaking.
Yeah.
Just listening to you describe it.
Try to imagine actually being there.
Yeah.
The whole mountain is enveloped in smoke and fire because, well, God has descended upon it. The smoke is it's rising like it's coming from a furnace.
Yeah.
And the mountain itself is shaking violently.
It's like that scene with Moses at the burning bush, but on a much grander scale.
Right.
For those who haven't heard that story, it's where God first revealed himself to Moses. But now it's the entire nation of Israel about to experience that same overwhelming power and holiness.
You picked up on that connection.
Yeah.
It's deliberate. And as the shofar's sound gets louder and louder, Moses speaks, and God answers him with a voice so powerful everyone can hear it. This isn't some, vague mystical experience. It's a clear, unmistakable communication, a powerful revelation of God's presence and authority.
This is seriously intense. And then God calls Moses to the top of the mountain, right into the heart of this fiery, smoky spectacle.
Yeah, but amidst this awe-inspiring display, there's a crucial lesson about approaching the divine.
Okay.
It's not just about the spectacle. It's about understanding the boundaries and respecting the covenant.
Okay.
Because God gives Moses a warning for the people.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. Tell me more. What's the warning?
God tells Moses, go down and warn the people not to force their way through to the Lord to see him. If they do, many of them will perish.
But wait, didn't they already get that memo? Like they were specifically told to stay away from the mountain?
Right.
Why would they even think of approaching it at this point?
You'd think so. Yeah. Right. And this is where things take an interesting turn.
So we left off with this rather puzzling warning. God tells Moses to warn the people about approaching the mountain, even though they already been told to stay put. It's like, didn't we already cover this? What's going on here?
Well, I think, this warning really gets to the heart of what it means to truly connect with the divine. I mean, think about it. You've just witnessed this incredible display of power. The thunder, the lightning, the mountain shaking, a voice booming from the heavens. It's natural to feel overwhelmed, to want to get closer.
Yeah. I can only imagine. It must have felt like a spiritual high.
Yeah.
Going from the terror of slavery to this awe-inspiring spectacle.
Exactly. And that's precisely the danger. They're so caught up in the emotion of the moment that they're forgetting something crucial.
You mean the whole stay away from the mountain thing?
Precisely. True worship, you see, it isn't just about feeling good or having a powerful emotional experience. It's about obedience, about respecting the boundaries that God sets, even when they don't, even when they don't make sense to us. It's like any relationship, really. Boundaries are essential for respect, for safety, for maintaining a healthy connection.
So even in our spiritual practices, even when we're seeking a deep connection with God, there's a need for balance, between emotion and obedience.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that God is holy, set apart, and approaching him with reverence and humility.
Okay.
True worship, you see, it involves both the heart and the mind, both feeling and doing. It's not about shutting down our emotions, but about keeping them in check, ensuring they don't lead us away from God's guidance.
So we can't just create our own version of spirituality based on what feels good in the moment.
Right.
There's a bigger picture, a divine order that we need to respect.
Exactly. And that order is often revealed through God's instructions, his commandments. Remember, the Israelites have just agreed to enter into a covenant with God.
Right.
A covenant requires both parties to uphold their end of the agreement.
So obedience isn't just about blindly following rules.
Right.
It's about showing respect for the covenant, for the relationship itself. It's a way of saying, I trust you, I honor our agreement.
That's a great way to put it. And it's fascinating that even Moses seems a bit perplexed by this repeated warning. He even says to God, "The people can't come up Mount Sinai because you ordered us to set limits around the mountain and separate it."
So he's like, I think we covered this already. What am I missing here?
But God insists, sending Moses back down the mountain, this time with Aaron, to reiterate the warning. And this repetition, this emphasis, is crucial. It's almost like a test.
A test.
To see if the Israelites are truly willing to submit to God's authority, even when their emotions are pulling them in a different direction. You see, God doesn't simply condemn emotional experience in worship.
Right.
He warns against allowing it to overtake his instructions.
That's an important distinction. So there's a place for emotion, for awe, for feeling God's presence deeply, but it can't be the driving force.
Right.
It's about finding that balance, that healthy integration of heart and mind.
Precisely. And it's a challenge that's still relevant today, isn't it? How do we approach our faith with both passion and reverence? How do we ensure our emotions don't lead us away from God's guidance?
Big questions for sure. So this warning about approaching the mountain, it's not just a random detail. It's a crucial lesson about the nature of true worship.
Yeah.
It's about balancing emotion with obedience, about respecting God's boundaries, and ultimately about honoring the covenant relationship. And that's something we can all apply to our lives, whether we're at the foot of a mountain or just trying to navigate our daily walk of faith.
Beautifully said. And this theme of preparation, of setting ourselves apart for a special encounter with God is going to play a big role as we move forward in Exodus.
I can't wait to see where this goes. But before we dive into the next chapter, is there anything else that we should take away from this section? What are your final thoughts on this encounter at Sinai?
What strikes me is the contrast between the drama of God's arrival and the subtlety of this lesson about worship. It's easy to get caught up in the spectacle, the thunder and lightning, but the real challenge lies in those quieter moments, in choosing obedience over emotional gratification. It's about recognizing that true connection with the divine requires more than just feeling good. It's about aligning our hearts and minds with God's will and living in accordance with the covenant we've made.
It's a good reminder that sometimes the most profound lessons come wrapped in the simplest of packages.
Exactly. And this is just the beginning of the Israelites' journey. There are many more lessons and challenges ahead. But this encounter at Mount Sinai lays a foundation for everything that follows. It's a reminder that true faith is a journey, not a destination. It's about learning, growing, and constantly deepening our relationship with the divine.
Well, that's quite a powerful takeaway. I'm definitely feeling inspired to dive even deeper into this story.
And I'm excited to continue exploring it with you. Shall we move on to the next chapter?
Absolutely. But before we do, let's give our listener a moment to reflect on what we've uncovered so far. What does this idea of balancing emotion and obedience mean to you? How does it shape your understanding of worship and your relationship with God? Take a moment to ponder those questions, and we'll be back in a flash to continue our journey through Exodus. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a chance to think about that idea of balancing emotion and obedience, in your own faith journey. It's a powerful concept, and one that's going to keep resonating as we move forward in Exodus.
It certainly is, yeah. This encounter at Mount Sinai, it really sets the stage for everything that follows. It's a foundational moment in the Israelites' journey, and it offers some pretty timeless insights, I think, for all of us.
We've explored this dramatic scene at Mount Sinai, the covenant being established, and even unpacked that crucial warning about approaching God with both awe and respect. It feels like we've uncovered some pretty profound truths about about the nature of worship. Don't you think?
Absolutely, and it's remarkable how these ancient lessons still resonate thousands of years later, even if we're not, standing at the foot of a smoking mountain. The principles of reverence, obedience, and finding that balance between, emotion and reason, well, they're just as relevant in our lives today.
Exactly. It's all about, applying these principles to our own spiritual practices, to our relationships, to how we navigate the world. It's about finding that sweet spot between passion and discipline, between feeling deeply and acting thoughtfully.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Yeah. It's a lifelong journey, really, learning to integrate our hearts and minds, our emotions and our actions in a way that honors both our human experience and our relationship with the divine.
It's not always easy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of what makes this journey so fascinating. There's always more to learn, more to discover as we strive to deepen our understanding and live out our faith in meaningful ways.
I couldn't agree more. And as we continue exploring Exodus, we'll see how this theme of covenant, of relationship, continues to unfold in fascinating ways. There will be highs and lows, moments of great inspiration and times of testing. But through it all, we'll see how God remains faithful to His promises and how He guides His people towards a deeper understanding of His will and their own purpose. Well, that sounds like an adventure I'm ready to embark on. But before we wrap up this deep dive into Exodus chapter 19, any final thoughts for our listener? Something to leave them pondering as they go about their day. I think the key takeaway here is that that true connection with the divine requires more than just grand gestures or fleeting emotional highs. It's about the daily choices we make. The way we treat others, the way we approach our work, our relationships, our lives. It's about aligning our hearts and minds with God's will and living in a way that reflects His love and grace.
Beautifully said. So there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into Exodus chapter 19. We've explored the dramatic events at Mount Sinai, unpacked the symbolism and deeper meaning, and hopefully sparked some reflection on how these ancient lessons can guide us on our own spiritual journeys.
May your paths be filled with wonder, wisdom, and the enduring presence of the divine.
And until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.